And for the members of the public, just so you know, we normally do audio recordings, but we are doing video recordings tonight because we have the intent to start live streaming all of our meetings. Unfortunately, I can't live stream tonight, but I am recording the video and will be posted on the town's YouTube channel. All right, with that, have all the board members had a chance to read this? If not, we'll pause before we get into the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review it? Okay, good. All right, first we have to do election of officers since this is our first meeting after town meeting.
We'll do the pledge.
We actually don't have it on here, but we can if we, yes. Why don't we start with that? Good call. And then we'll, I was gonna jump into that if you like. We're good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that, Keith. Election of officers, do I have a motion for chairman?
Make a motion to have Larry Baker continue to be chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then I will make a motion to nominate Keith as our vice chair.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All in favor? Great. All right. Minutes of our last meeting, which was December 8th. That's a surprise. I guess we just haven't had any cases.
No, haven't had any cases.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any changes, updates? No?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented of December 8th, 2025.
Perfect. I will second Keith's motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda, we do have a public hearing for a variance. Before we start that, there is, one of the abutters had sent in a letter today asking us to continue the meeting to our next regularly scheduled, so they, well, for whatever reasons that they have here in the letter, for their own research time and all that. The only thing after reading it that I really want to discuss is their last bullet point, which is whether proper notice was provided to all abutters in accordance with applicable requirements. I'm going to ask Robin.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. She actually has the
I have the
returns receipts here. Does anybody want to address this letter at all? The one point that I wanted to address was that Robin has confirmed that all the abutters have been notified per the requirements.
The abutter might have a specific claim in that, but I guess they could bring it up at the next meeting.
Yep, they could.
Well, I mean.
No.
I mean, they would
it
have
really
to.
needs to be settled tonight.
Oh, does
I
it?
mean, 'cause.
Well, no. So I'm saying they could appeal after the fact.
Oh, they
if
could
had
appeal, yeah, they have
Yes.
30 days to appeal it.
Yes, so the abutter can always appeal after the fact if they feel that something wasn't done procedurally correct.
Okay, yeah, got it.
I just have a process question. So when the planning board saw this, had this gone out to abutters as well?
Yes.
Okay, so
There's
Well,
been
there
multiple
was-
when
boards.
did the planning board see?
There was one, a month ago or so?
month ago.
And they did approve it pending the variance approval.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So they did a
Yeah.
conditional approval
Yes.
based upon the variance,
Right.
okay.
yes.
Right, but the abutters were aware.
The
of
abutters were notified. There was one glitch that they were all notified, but one person that I know of didn't get it because the applicant had put down his street address and not his P.O. box. So I emailed that particular person the notice just in case something happened again, and it does look like his letter was bounced back, but everybody was notified legally.
Perfect, thank you. Does anybody want to address any other points in this letter? Otherwise, I'd like to move on.
No, I'm okay.
Gentlemen,
I'm okay.
Mike, all right. All right, before we get into the public hearing as well, I've got a short statement that I want to read, which is good evening, everybody. The matter before us tonight is a variance application requesting approval for a retail use within the residential zone. As with all variance requests, the board's responsibility is to evaluate the application against the specific criteria set forth in our zoning ordinance and state law. I want to address One important point at the outset: while the proposed retail use in this case is for a gun shop, the nature of the business itself is not a factor we are permitted to consider in our decision. Under New Hampshire RSA 159:26, the regulation of firearms, ammunition, and knives is largely preempted by the state, limiting the authority of local boards such as ours to regulate this type of business. Therefore, our focus must remain strictly on zoning consideration and the variance criteria. We also want to ensure everybody has the opportunity to be heard in a fair and orderly manner. Each resident who wishes to speak will be allowed up to 5 minutes. We ask that you keep your comments focused and respectful. Finally, all comments and questions from the public should be directed to the board. The board will in turn ask the applicant any questions necessary to clarify for the record. Thank you. With that, we will get into the public hearing. And just as a brief order of operations, the way we will proceed is we'll ask the applicant to give us a brief overview of the project. We will then review the criteria. The board will have the opportunity to ask questions throughout that process. Once we're through the criteria, I'll then open it to the public for comment. With that, I'm sorry, I have to get the application in front of me. That would always be helpful. And I'm sorry, what was your name?
Alex.
Alex, thank you. There it is. I just found the application. Do you prefer Alex?
Yeah.
Mr. Mellon, all right. Alex, great. Why don't we start by giving the board an overview of your proposed project here?
Sure. I'm just looking to get a variance so I can operate a small, appointment-only gun shop in my basement. Really, it's gonna be very low traffic. Like I said, it'd be appointment only. There really won't be any real inventory. It'll be kind of, call and order kind of thing. It's pretty much
Excellent. I mean, one question that I have, which really isn't a zoning issue, it's just a question. Are you planning to put signage out, or you?
No.
Yeah, no signage. That's all planning board anyway. The zoning board wouldn't be involved. But I was just curious.
No change to the, the street or
Sure.
the outside of the house or anything at all.
Perfect. Any questions from the board on his project overview? Any opening questions?
No.
No.
Sean, you good?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, what we'll do is we're going to get into the criteria now. The way we typically do this is I will read the start of the criteria, or rather the heading, and then you can read your response. If you have anything additional on those individual sections of criteria that you wish to add, that'll be the time. And then as we go through each part of the criteria, the board may have questions as we go. When we get down to section E, this is actually a two-part about unnecessary hardship. If we can establish E1, then we will not address E2. We will only move on to E2 if E1 cannot be established. So with that said, Alex, we're going to start. It's part 2, so down in section 2A. Actually, you only have one page, so you're good. Granting the proposed variance will not be contrary to the public interest because.
What I wrote was, it will not disrupt the character of the neighborhood.
Okay. How does the board feel about that? Thoughts?
I think it's accurate. It's a no signage store. It's not gonna disrupt anything, so it's not gonna be, public interest doesn't get involved at that point.
Yep. And again, we're only considering retail in a residential
Correct.
zone.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
There's
I'm
no-
just
no
reminding
signage.
the
Yep.
rest of the board too, that's the only thing we're considering, retail and residential, as part of a home business. Gentlemen, does anybody have any questions, comments? No, are we good? All right, let's move down to B. Granting the proposed variance will observe the spirit of the Hillsborough zoning ordinance because.
There will be no adverse impact on the neighborhood or the town. It will not affect neighboring property values, and home businesses are encouraged and supported by the master plan and the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Nope.
Frank, did you have anything?
No, sorry. Not really. I mean, it's a home business, so I'm not sure how you can know it has an impact on property values, but I don't know that it would or wouldn't, right? So it's
Yeah.
his opinion.
Yep. I mean, I'll say too, in the spirit of the Hillsborough zoning ordinance, you know, it does fall into the master plan area
Yeah.
about, you know, encouraging home-based businesses.
No, I agree with that. So,
Okay. Anything else on B?
no.
All right. Let's get down to C. Granting the proposed variance will do substantial justice because.
It ensures reasonable use of the property and does not harm public interest.
I got to tell you, I always have.
This one's always tough.
I always struggle with substantial justice because, you know, how do you answer that in the right way? Reasonable use of the property, I think, absolutely does justice in that case. Any other comments from the board on this point?
That's a
Questions?
really big statement, not what you did, but what's written down is the substantial justice things, it's pretty vague. So I don't know, I don't never know what to do with that. It just seems just really overbroad and not really, anyway, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with you. I don't know if you heard Keith says we always end up struggling with C and trying to define that, which is always a challenge. Okay, any other questions from the applicant on section C? No? Okay. Let's move down to D. Granting the proposed variance will not diminish the values of the surrounding properties because.
My next door neighbor has a long time, at-home business. There will also, like I said before, there will be no visible changes to the property and, very minimal increase in traffic, if any.
Okay. Questions from the board? Comments?
I appreciate the additional clarification there about the neighbor, et cetera. So,
Anybody else? You good, Keith?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. All right, let's move down to E. So this is our two-part. And again, if we can establish E1, we will not address E2. Literal enforcement of literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance, that one always twists me up too, will result in an unnecessary hardship because one, owing to the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, one, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property, and two, the proposed use is a reasonable one because.
There is no option available that suits my needs and that is, affordable locally.
So, we have to determine, is E1 hardship, the literal enforcement of this causing an unnecessary hardship? My feeling is yes, simply because of, it really comes down to the zoning for me,
Yeah.
right? I mean, literal enforcement would mean no, so that right there
Makes it a hardship.
makes the hardship.
Yep. I
To
agree.
it, so, from my opinion, E1 is indeed established.
I couldn't hear you, what, did you say the hardship was too aggressive?
In this case, because it's a home-based business
Home-based business.
and it's in the residential zone, for me, that almost creates the issue to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, I have a question about that.
Go ahead.
It's similar to, this is kind of similar to a last meeting we had. It says here that it's due to the special conditions of the property. And we had somebody here last, I think she wanted to open up a manicure business or a hairstyling business. But it wasn't necessarily that the property was odd and different. It was that she felt that she didn't, it was more on the individual than the property. But I understand that the special conditions of the property is that property taxes are crazy and expenses in general are just nuts out. But so what is the special conditions of the property compared to, like other properties in the town or other properties in the state? Like it's expensive for everybody everywhere. It's kind of, does that make sense? Like what I'm
Yep.
saying, Will? Or
Yep.
just rambling or?
No. I mean, I can understand what you're saying there. It's, so no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to this property. So, you know, again, this one can be challenging at times.
Yeah, it's like somebody wants to build a garage on one side of the backyard, but they can't because there's a rock ledge. That's definitely like special conditions of the property. But I hate to bring this up now. Maybe should have brought it up the last time. But I was just wondering because it's special conditions of the property as I count because things are really expensive. And I don't know if that. I mean, but we did it. We were okay with it the last time, and I just didn't think about it. So I don't know. I brought it up.
I agree with what you're saying, yeah.
What was that, Sean?
I said I agree with what he's saying.
And I
I'm
didn't
saying,
mean to
like, this is
bring
more
us
of a
down,
general.
but now because we're just end up talking about this property. It's just because that was the last time.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, Mike, now is the time to talk about it. So
Yeah.
if the majority of the board feels E1 is not established, then we can move to E2. It sounds like Mike and Sean, you're both of the no opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not special to his property and is what Mike's.
Mhm.
I
But
mean,
is that
I
enough
agree
to-
that it's a hardship, but it's not unique to his property. Not that it's not gonna be established further down, but I don't think that this particular.
But we can't just let this slide and other things. So like we can't cherry pick.
No, absolutely. So
Yeah,
this
so
is
I don't know what to do with that.
That would be the case for any home business that's not
that would be the
Yeah.
case for any home business in the residential zone.
in the right, that's, yeah.
Well, unless there was a special, like, traffic or whatever, you know, I mean, there could be a
Right.
special
Yep.
reason, but in this particular case, I don't think that because of the current economic climate
Mhm.
makes his property special for this, is what you're just saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. And last time we allowed this person to have like a hair place, and a couple other times they were like, hey, you know, because like there was that motorcycle thing. It was like, hey, you know, what am I gonna do? It's like you try to rent anywhere, it's like thousands of dollars. Yeah. Anyway.
Nope, that's fair. Frank, what's your opinion on whether or not E1 is established, or your thoughts around?
Well, home business is very abstract in terms of the property, so, but with a precedent that the next door neighbor has it, whatever, I guess, under whatever conditions that was approved, it seems reasonable, and if it was approved on E1, then why aren't we approving this on E1? And I don't know what the other business was.
Right.
Yeah, we would have to
Say
pull
that.
the file on the other one to know if E1 was established or not.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, so I tend to accept it, as is, but,
I mean, from an application standpoint, if the majority of the board feels it's not established, that doesn't stop the application. That just means we have to address this under E2 rather than E1. But we do have to, I would suggest that we are taking into account that there is a neighboring home-based business as well in the residential zone.
Yeah.
And if we were to, and again, without pulling that other file, we wouldn't know if E1 was established or not, but I think, and maybe this is going a little bit, maybe I'm stretching it a little bit, but the fact that there is a neighboring home-based business already in the zone, to say that it's not, I think that almost gets us back into that hardship discussion, because there's another home-based business right next door. I mean, when I say right next door, is it one of your butters?
Correct.
Okay.
Right next door, yeah, 22 Center Road.
and what I was gonna say is it's a special condition because he's not a home business and there's one next door, right? So,
Right.
that's, to me, that's a special condition.
And for me, the ending part of that paragraph fits. The proposed use is reasonable because of this.
Right.
So that's why I'm also comfortable with saying E1 has been established. So at this point, I think Keith and I are still, yes, it's established.
Still, yes.
Mike and Sean is a no. So Frank?
No, I'm a yes.
Okay, so E1 has been established. Do we want to record that, or I guess it's not a vote, so. just
I
the
can
majority of the board.
record it,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's do that, just in case anything gets questioned, so.
One, so Sean and Michael are no.
Yeah, and then us three are yes.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, that brings us to the end of the criteria. I will be opening this up to the public in just a moment. Now, just because this type of issue can be contentious, I will be timing any speakers just to limit to 5 minutes. Are you good, or is there something else you need?
I just messed something up.
Okay, are you good, or do we have to
I'm
do any
fine,
corrections?
yeah, no,
Okay.
you're all set.
All right, so with that, I'm going to now open it to the public. If anybody from the public wants to speak, please state your name, so first and last name, and speak kind of loud and clear, so that way it can make it to the recording. And I see we have at least 2 members of the public and the Concord moderator. I don't know if you plan to speak at all, but whoever wants to go first, like I said, please just, if you could just state your name first, and then remember, we are not addressing anything relating to a gun shop. The only thing we are going to address as a board, that doesn't mean you can't make whatever comments you want, but the board is only going to address items related to a retail space, a retail home business in a residential zone. Anybody?
Jennifer Shamel. Is there something else you want to name?
Nope,
No?
nope.
Okay.
I just needed your name, and just remember to speak clearly.
Yep.
And if you have any questions, those always come to the board, and if the board needs to get clarification from the applicant, we will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I have questions/statements for the board, and it's whether or not the application meets all the requirements of Home Businesses 229-86, a general point number 5.
I can answer that.
One of the requirements is that there's no noise or fumes or air pollutants. I believe the applicant stated that there wouldn't be beyond the boundaries of the property. The property is 0.3 acres, so I want to know whether or not there is any assurance that of the sale of the items from the store, whether or not there would be any noise, air pollutant from lead dust, or fumes as a result of testing items that are going to be sold. And also whether or not, and also one of the requirements of section A5 is that a sale is not allowed for, there is no on-site storage, I wouldn't say sale, but on-site storage of hazardous materials as determined by the Hillsborough Fire Department. Ammunition is, I don't know, class 1 or something, it is considered a hazardous material. So I wanna know whether or not that conversation has happened to determine whether or not it is a hazardous material. And how the items would be stored in the, again, it's retail store, not necessarily home, but for retail. And the other question is, also under section A5, it can be applications can be, not accepted if they're objectionable to the residential character. Not just that it won't disrupt it, but that it is objectionable to the character. The character, it is, the location is 700 feet from the elementary school. And schools in general have a 1,000 foot range, where the character of that 1,000 feet is to consider safety concerns and enhance safety measures. So whether or not got another question for the zoning board, is whether or not that has been taken into consideration, not just residential character for the surrounding houses, but for the traditional 1,000 foot around a school and the character of that area.
Did you say you had some clarifications
I can,
that
I
you
can answer those
Thank you.
completely. All of those issues were addressed by the planning board when he had his home business hearing. The planning board was satisfied that he had met those criteria. As far as input on hazardous waste, every application is circulated to the department heads, so the fire chief also got to see the application. I did not get any comments back from him, so we have to just assume that he had no comments. So, and as far as the 1,000 feet, from what our attorney has said to us, that is only as a drug-free zone. So, really, these were planning board questions, but those have already been answered by the approval.
Okay. So with zoning board, like, in my reading for New Hampshire, it's more of enhanced safety measures, it's not just drug-free, it's also like there's reduced speed limits, with other things for consideration for that area. So, again, you said some of these questions were already addressed in
Yes.
another forum. So I guess that's the question to the zoning board, is whether or not these questions have been addressed and gone through to make sure the applicant meets all the requirements.
So the zoning board is not going to answer planning board questions.
Yes, but do you guys, does the zoning board check to make sure that those questions have been asked and answered?
Our planning director just confirmed that for
Yes,
us.
okay, so then that's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you have anything else, by the
Nope,
way?
that's all. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
Could I just say one thing to that?
You can address the board. Yes.
Okay, I was just gonna say, she mentioned, testing or anything like that. I don't do it at my house, it's way too close to the road and other houses, so I don't do any of that, just to say that.
Yeah, and there's already regulations around how close to a roadway you can actually discharge a firearm, which his house is way too close by the sounds of it. So that won't be a problem because he would be violating other statutes if he did. Any further? I'm sorry, did you have any comments at all before I? Okay, I'm going to close the public portion. We'll move to board deliberations at this point.
Did we want to address Ian's letter on that, or does he want this to be postponed? Do we want any formal response regarding that?
I will add, I already said it once after the meeting started, but I will just reiterate it for this point, that the only bullet point in that letter that I would have wanted to address is the final bullet point of ensuring all the butters were properly noticed. Robin has confirmed that they have been.
Okay.
So I don't have any appetite to get
I
any
don't
deeper into
either.
this.
I just wanted to
I don't
make
see any
sure.
need to.
Yep,
We
perfect.
can, anybody else from the board, do you have any input on Keith's question? Is there anything else you want to address in the letter from the other abutter?
About the Ian Healy letter,
Yes.
yeah, just a couple questions. He's requesting that we're gonna continue the zoning board. And then do we decide whether we wanna fulfill that request or not, or does that mean that it's going to happen?
Well, we can decide if we want to continue or not.
Okay, and he's not here.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And that abutter was properly noticed.
Alright, yeah,
So.
alright, cool, so.
Again, the board could continue if they wanted. Honestly, from my perspective, I wouldn't recommend that because we have all the information that we need in front of us. Any other thoughts, questions? I don't think we have to talk anymore about this letter.
No, I
So,
was wondering if we had to, or.
Yep,
we
nope.
Chose to, alright, I'm good.
well, I did want to mention it because it was a letter from an abutter.
Mm-hmm.
The only piece of the letter that gave me pause again was around noticing of the abutters. And Robin has confirmed all abutters that have been properly noticed. So, with that, any further discussion? Any other questions, comments? Frank, are you good?
No, I am good, sorry.
Sean, I think you indicated you're good.
Yes, I'm good.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance at 24 Center Road, map 12, lot 340, as submitted by Alex Mellon.
I'll second.
All right, Frank has seconded it. All in favor? Aye.
Right?
Aye, aye.
Oh, you did? Yes.
Sorry, I was mumbling.
No, that's fine. I heard everybody but you, Mike. All right, so that's all in favor. All right, findings of fact. We need to, I would like for us to be as thorough as possible with the findings tonight as well. We'll do our usual findings of the address.
Yes,
Um,
address, property owner,
Yep,
zone.
yep. I would like to include in the findings, if the board deems it appropriate, that the applicant also stated there will be no discharging of any firearms on the premises, just so it's recorded.
Yeah.
Even though our decisions can't be based upon the fact of firearms. What other findings does the board have that we want to add into the record?
I think it's important to note that there's other home-based businesses in that same
Yep.
vicinity, which also leads to a positive outcome for this specific variance.
I think you could include that we reviewed the finding of facts from the planning board as part of our discussion.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, we confirmed that the planning board addressed all of their issues. Gentlemen, any other findings that you'd like to add in?
Nope.
Can't think of anything else at this point that I want to include.
Just point of order, how our public comments captured then?
So the public captions have already been captured.
Okay, so
Yep.
they're captured, they're not just.
Right.
Yep. Yep, so we did the public, when I opened to the public, that's when we captured all the public, then I closed the public, and then we went to our deliberation.
Hold on. Since there's not gonna be inventory and ammunition and all that, we don't have to put in the findings about, any of that. That was the planning board, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
all
you
planning
can't
board
get
items.
into guns.
Yeah,
Yep.
but anything about like storage of like
Inventory.
things that would be toxic in the air, that's.
No.
Right,
it's all
that
there.
was all in the planning board
Right,
decision.
Gotcha. Alright, cool. Alright.
Think we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So that actually concludes this application. Robin will be in touch. I mean, obviously you heard that this has been approved by the ZBA. So she'll be in touch with the official notice.
And just remember that, there's a 30-day appeal period, so someone could appeal the decision. And just to keep that in mind, I will get you your notice of decision within 5 days. And I get the chairman to sign it, so we can get it recorded and get you on your way.
And then after that, I can speak with the building inspector and.
You can speak to the building inspector tomorrow if you wanted to, but just understand that the approval has a 30-day appeal period.
So feel free to do all your research and all that, but I wouldn't move forward with anything until that 30-day
Right.
window has elapsed.
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect. Is there anything else we can answer for you while you're here?
I don't believe so.
Have yourself a wonderful evening then.
Thank you very much.
Rules of procedure, I didn't put it on the agenda.
Hold on. I do have one thing more that I actually wanted to talk about.
Hopefully that was saying that.
Oh, no, you're fine, you're fine. Part of this application sent me down the rabbit hole of going over all of our rules of procedure again, just to make certain that we were dotting the i's, crossing the t's. And as part of our rules, when we get into public comment, is the public is limited to 5 minutes. Been kind of doing some research about, is that too long? Is that not enough time? I've seen a lot of other towns and a lot of other boards limit to 3 minutes for the initial comment. That doesn't mean that the public is cut off at 3 minutes, right? If we have a large audience and we have a lot of people to speak, we just need to keep the timing down. And what that would mean in that scenario is we would go through everybody in the public that wants to speak until they've either finished or they've met their max. Then if there was additional time, we could go back around and let the public, have another round of comment. What I wanted us to discuss is, does 5 minutes seem like the right number? Does 3 minutes seem like the right number? Or does 5 minutes not seem long enough to the board? Maybe it should be 10. I just thought this is something we should probably just hash out, discuss. We don't even have to make any decisions. This can
I
be,
think there'd be a lot more commentary here, but I think that 5 minutes is a little long. You gotta make your point in 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
if you can't, then you can ask for more time. I don't know.
yeah, and
Five
Mike,
minutes
again, the whole
turns
point
into
is
a
that if you have a large crowd, you give everybody the opportunity to get up and speak to whatever is in front of. Obviously, in our case, it's the ZBA, but pick your board. But most of the boards have some time limit. And frankly, if it's without it being that busy, if she had run more than 5 minutes, I wouldn't have stopped her because it's not like there's 20 people in the audience waiting to speak. I was only starting the timer just in case a bunch of people came in. I would be following our rules at that point. Yeah, just because it's in our rules, we don't have to stop people from talking. And let's face it, if we look at the history of the board, I don't know how many years I've been doing this now. This is probably only the second potentially contentious case that's actually come in front of us. And we didn't exactly have a large turnout. So, but thoughts?
I think it'd be better to limit it now than when you've got 20 people in front
Agreed.
of you and spend time.
Well, and
Yeah,
this
I
is
thought
this
it
is
was when
why.
you get back home till like midnight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I made certain to reference our rules ahead of time, because I would not want to stop somebody at 3 minutes when our rules say 5. But, I mean, what does the board think? I mean, again, we don't even have to address it tonight. If we want, take time to think about it, we can add it to our next agenda and make a decision then, which
And
actually might
the
be the
way-
better idea.
Certainly, it could be the way that our procedures are is when you change something in the rules of procedures, you have to actually discuss it twice. So
Perfect,
what
here's our
you
first.
could do
the
is
next
if you
agenda.
chose, if the board wanted to go to 3 minutes and then 2 minutes for the subsequent comment,
Mhm.
you could vote to do that tonight and you still have to vote at the next meeting about it.
Correct.
So it's up to you.
So, that actually brings up the second point, because we didn't talk about the second round of public comment.
Right.
Because today we don't define that, but a lot of other towns and boards do. Meaning 3 minutes on the first round, 2 minutes on the second. Because if you think about a large meeting or a contentious meeting, you might have your 3 minutes, somebody might say something, and then, oh, that makes you think of something else you want to bring up, or something else you want to challenge, or what have you. So, I mean, what does the board think about that? I mean, I like the 3 minute, 2 minute, because, and again, that's only there if there's a lot of people and we have to control the time. It's absolutely within our purview that if it's only a handful of people and we want to let them go longer, we can do that.
And we're not restricted by what other boards do.
No.
We make our rules and
Yeah.
they're our rules.
That is correct.
I'd certainly support that,
You support the 3 minute, 2 minute?
yeah. If you need a motion so
Well-
that we can vote on it next month.
Yep, yeah, no, I mean, I just want to hear from the rest of the members and their thoughts, and
I
then we'll,
agree with that, yeah. Sounds good to me.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the 3 minute, 2 minute.
Okay,
I personally prefer the 5 minute, 3 minute rule. If the crowd took that much time out of the day to come here and discuss this, they want to be heard. We had a contentious meeting a few years back where that would have been tough with the amount of people here, but they were glad when I spoke up and said, hey, they want to be heard, we got to let them talk, and
Mhm.
it's important for them. So I think the 5 minute, 3 minutes is better, but, you know, I'm okay with 3 and 2.
That's a good point. When people come, they come for a reason. They take time, you know. and
Oh,
we can
absolutely.
I don't mind staying even if I joke about going home.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
joking. I don't
My
mind
concern
staying.
isn't giving people the time. Like I said, I don't think we've ever had to cut somebody off in a meeting. It is I'm thinking worst case scenario, there's some very large, very contentious topic, and we've got 100 people lined up at the door, so we have to move this down to the school so that way we can fit everybody in the room. Right, that's the scenario where these rules come into play. Which is, again, why I'm thinking 3 and 2, because if there's 100 people, we're gonna be there a long time.
And often
Even at
people
3 and
make a
2.
point, and then somebody else is going to speak, and they're like, that person already made my point for me. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, and again, I just wanted to have the discussion tonight, but to Robin's point, we do have to vote on it twice. I'm fine with if everybody just wanted to take some time and think about it, we can do the first vote at the next meeting and then the second vote on the following. Or if somebody wants to make a motion because everybody's happy with it, we can do it tonight too. we can get the first round
I'll
in.
make the motion for 3-2.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
I,
The only one I didn't hear was Sean.
Aye.
You did. One of you two are always quiet. I'm like, I can't hear both of you. Either that or you're both speaking at the exact same time that I can't hear.
I'm not sure about that, so.
Excellent. All right. Does the board have anything else? Otherwise, our agenda's wrapped up. Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn, seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.